What do you see? A shepherd boy? When presented a photo like this, we were invited to see the future leader of a nomadic flock following the Good Shepherd. But where do you begin? How do you plant churches among nomads? Wouldn't it be easier to just work with those who are settled? What really is a nomad? And what difference does it make? When we first began walking with nomads in 1993, we already knew that these people had much to teach us about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and even Jesus. But we had no idea how much we had to learn. My dear sweet Sunday school teacher, Mrs. Sutton, did her level best, but nothing could match actually walking with people who lived like the patriarchs of old. But in the beginning, they held us at a distance and seemed to resent our coming. Were they rejecting our Christian faith, or was there something else going on? What would it take to gain their respect? Could we ever become part of the community? We had come with good training in linguistics and anthropology. Top community leaders told me that their major felt needs were poverty, health, and lack of education. We had training in literacy and other forms of holistic development. So, although people were supremely hospitable, why didn't they actually follow through when we brought potential solutions? I want to take you on a journey, walking with nomads. Along the way, I will share some of our own story of both failures and successes. From time to time, I will also invite others to share their experiences. Who are nomads? For the past 10 years, I have been surveying nomads around the world, but what do we mean by nomad? Definitions found in dictionaries and encyclopedias do not seem to do justice to the world of nomads as I have encountered them. So here is our working definition. Nomads are not individualistic. Rather, networking relationships, both externally and internally, seems built into their DNA. Internally, they're organized as clans or tribes. They see mobility as a resource, even if they don't appear to use it. They highly value their group's autonomy, and they see themselves as distinct from people with a sedentary heritage. Now let's unpack this a bit. Nomads are naturally networking. This is one way in which they are not individualistic. Relationships seem built into their DNA. Externally, they rely on relationships for survival and growth. How they relate to certain groups might include generations of friendship or enmity, for alliances or for conflicts. This is either for the protection or benefit of their own group. Internally, they're organized as clans, tribes, and other social structures. These social structures affect decision-making, who you trust or don't trust, and who is or is not part of their community. They see mobility as a community resource, even if they don't appear to use it. This is much more than just travel. It's a resource for their livelihood, whether that be seeking water and grazing for their livestock, or gathering and providing resources and services, for buying and selling or trading in the world's marketplaces. For nomads, mobility is an identity marker. They identify as people on the move, even if it seems they are not moving. Some nomads are obvious because they seem to be constantly on the move. Others may seem to be settled in one place, even over several generations. Still, they think about mobility as a resource, and if their circumstances are right, they would naturally pick up and move again. They highly value their group's autonomy. They don't like outsiders telling them what to do. This can often does lead to conflicts with others, including national and regional governments. I can't really overemphasize the importance of independence and resistance to outside control. They love their sense of freedom. This will require great sensitivity in your approach to nomads. And they see themselves as distinct from people with a sedentary heritage. They see themselves as different and set apart from sedentary people. Even those groups who otherwise do not seem to be using the resource of mobility will often refer to their previous heritage of mobility in their proverbs, epic poetry, and history. This may be true even while they look down on the segments of their own ethnic group who still move, seeing them as unclean and uneducated. They might say something like, "Yes, these people represent our ancient past and are still part of us, unlike those others who have always been sedentary farmers or city people." What does the Good Shepherd look like to a nomad? Kenneth Bailey became one of my favorite authors when a friend gave me his book, The Good Shepherd. He provides a deep dive into how God is viewed as the Good Shepherd in Psalm 23, Jeremiah 23, Ezekiel 34, and Zechariah 10, and then how Jesus is identified in the same way in each of the 4 Gospels and in 1 Peter. In later episodes, I will explore many nomad themes from Genesis to Revelation that resound with nomadic values like this shepherd imagery, also kinship bonds and wilderness wanderings. I will show how stories from Adam, Cain, and Abel, Job, through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Ishmael, and of course Jesus, connect deeply with nomads and even provide us with a spiritual nomadic heritage. Here's one case. After nomads and a few friends had worked tirelessly to produce the Jesus film in a nomadic language, we watched it with a few nomadic shepherds. At the end, one expressed the thoughts of the group. He exclaimed, "Wow, Jesus and his disciples were just like us." I said, "Yes. In what ways do you see that?" He replied, "Their food and simple houses look like ours, and they seem to be constantly on the move." Over the course of our journey together, we will take a fresh look at familiar biblical stories and consider how nomads might help us rethink the roles of shepherd, journey, and provision. Practical considerations for engaging nomads. As we continue on this journey, I will guide you through many practical considerations for engaging nomads. Things like building genuine relationships, highlighting the importance first of simply being present, of time, and trust building in nomadic communities. Living lightly seems to be a growing trend today, but when it comes to nomads, you ain't seen nothing yet. I actually thought we were living lightly when a very wealthy nomad matriarch asked me, "Mr. Ron, why do you have so much stuff?" And when it comes to stuff, what does it mean to think collectively? We'll need at least one full episode just on that topic. We'll need to discuss a shift from my stuff to our stuff, encouraging a communal mindset that's essential for nomadic ministry. Here are some questions for reflection and action. Ask yourself, how can I start to adopt a nomadic mindset in my own life? What are some ways I can challenge my own individualistic tendencies? How might the Good Shepherd's stories take on new meaning through nomadic eyes? Think of some other practical ways to start embracing nomadic values in your home, family, and community. I invite your feedback, personal reflections, and questions. Leave some comments. Look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you again on the next Nomad Step of Journey.